Well, there are a few sounds more satisfying than this one.
Yes.
Here we go. Done.
We can watch Brock Purdy and others tee off at the 49ers Foundation Celebrity Golf Tournament. Let's go through the 49ers different golfers here. We could see some swings. Purdy got that one good. Christian Kirk, Jake Tonjes. We'll just watch.
Yep. Too far?
No, you're good. You're good now.
Yeah, I'm over that hill.
That's going to be great.
All right.
He's over the hill. That's good. All right, here's Mac Jones.
Look at that.
Nice,
Look at that.
Get down.
I think it's in the hole. It's in the hole.
He got some air there. That's very, very Mac Jones. That's on brand. Mac and a Mac.
All right, we're going for swing speed.
Yep. Nothing else matters.
This is Tonjes.
Hey!
26 swing speed, 337 yards.
Let's go.
Come on.
All right, you need a tight end with some muscle. 337 yards. He tattooed that one. Now, Christian Kirk, you wonder about him, a smaller receiver. He's going to go next.
Let's go.
All right.
Hey, next year you'll be out here on this.
Yeah.
Not bad either. They didn't have the sound on Christian Kirk's. Now, he might have hooked it.
All
And of course,
right.
CJ West with the short
Eagle
game.
birdie, this guy's unstoppable. Eagle birdie, right? All right, good job.
Oh, where'd you sneak up from?
49ers young defensive tackle CJ West. All right, that was fun. Thought that we'd begin one of the more relaxing weekends of the year in between the NFL draft and rookie minicamp with a look into the 49ers golfing at the Celebrity Golf Tournament. Now, we can also see what else is going on. This is from the Kentucky Derby, and that is Fred Warner and his wife, Sydney. A Golden Tempo, the winner of the Kentucky Derby. Obviously, Golden, the 49ers, they've got a little bit of that color. So Fred Warner got to see that in Kentucky at Churchill Downs today. Didn't see any other 49ers connections over at the Derby on social media, but I did see that Dre Greenlaw trained today in the boxing gym as he has been training all offseason and said hello to Fred Warner, told him he's having a good time. And I think it was Dre's trainer that said, "You're watching the horses. We're working like horses here in the boxing gym." Anyway, I think my favorite in the golf there was Mac Jones, because Mac, that guy's got personality and it's always going to be on display. And obviously he didn't get traded. The 49ers wanted a first-round pick in exchange for Mac Jones. He was worth that to them. They didn't get that first-round pick. He wasn't worth that to anybody else. But sometimes those values don't align and a trade does not happen. Good for the 49ers because they want to be as strong and as deep as possible in 2026. And having Mac Jones on the football team is something that I think will help them do that. All right, I'm going to open this up to some questions. We're 3 minutes in. I want to make an interactive show. Got something really good coming out tomorrow. So I'm editing it right now. We're going through all the motions there. No news is hit over the course of this weekend at this point. So it's just a good time to talk about the 49ers, answer some of your questions. Reset. Rookie minicamp for San Francisco is going to be Thursday and Friday. So I'll be there in Santa Clara. And we will see Raheem Morris speak to the media for the first time during his 49ers tenure. So that's going to be a much anticipated press conference looking at the 49ers' new defensive coordinator. And then it's going to be a much anticipated on-field debut for the 49ers rookies, starting with Dejon Stribling, the wide receiver out of Ole Miss, continuing with Romello Height, the edge rusher out of Texas Tech, Kaelon Black, the running back out of the University of Indiana. There's been some talk today that I saw online. I had to shut this down. You guys know me. I'll see something on X that just is incorrect, and I got to step in and be like, what are you talking about? Somebody said, I'm doing a deep dive on Kaelon Black, and I think that Shanahan and Lynch ran up the wrong card because this makes no sense. The vast majority of his carries are between the tackles, and he's running a lot of man gap stuff. He's running power. And it's like, dude, do you even watch the 49ers, or are you just relying on outdated stereotypes? The 49ers ran their most man/gap action last year of the entire Shanahan-Lynch era. They ran power at a significantly higher rate than they had in years prior. The 49ers are diversifying the run game. It's not only outside zone, inside zone. They're running some man blocking concepts that require more muscle up front. There was a win against the Atlanta Falcons, and we talked about it for like a week after that win for the 49ers in the month of October, where it was predominantly power for San Francisco. And Atlanta had a really fast secondary last year. They had some athletes in the back end, and they had some, Raheem Morris was the coach of the Atlanta Falcons. Jeff Ulbrich, the former 49er, was their defensive coordinator. We know that they had some adaptable talent on the back end because we keep on talking about what Raheem Morris used to work with in Atlanta. And the 49ers found that the way to beat what the Falcons were running out there was by running power at them. But the only way that you can run power is if you have guards who can pull, if you are able to outmuscle other teams because you're going man on man with the blocking instead of blocking in a zone. And the 49ers succeeded in that. And it was a credit to the fact that they have been diversifying the run game. So when somebody goes out and says, oh, Kaelon Black ran a lot of power in college, it's like, yeah, the 49ers have been running more power too. Beyond that, it is rarely about how a player was used in college carrying over directly to how they're going to be used in the NFL, because college scheme is different. So even if there's a college team that runs similar stuff to the 49ers, San Francisco is going to be asking a player that it takes from that scheme to do some different things in the National Football League. Just as simple as that. So in the case of Kaelon Black, he didn't catch many passes at Indiana. He caught 4 passes one year, 4 passes the next, 8 total receptions. When the 49ers drafted him at number 90, one of the first things I saw on X was, oh, this guy doesn't catch the ball out of the backfield. Why'd the 49ers draft him? Just because he wasn't asked to do it at Indiana does not mean that he cannot do it in the NFL. And if you go back to James Madison University, where Kaelon Black played before he transferred to Indiana, or if you watch the Senior Bowl, the guy was running routes, catching passes. He had 26 catches in one season at James Madison. So, but over double 2.5x what he had in 2 years at Indiana. You saw at the Senior Bowl, he was routing people up. 49ers, I think, fell in love with him at the Senior Bowl. That's where John Lynch got to interview Kaelon Black. So long story short is Indiana might not have asked him to catch many passes, but he did catch a lot of passes at different exhibitions over the course of his college career and then after his college career. And he's going to be asked to do that with the 49ers. That's why they think that he's a ready-made back, because he can give them some man power stuff. He can give them the receiving game, and he runs a 4.43. That's what he ran at the pro day. He was not invited to the combine. He was a combine snub. Between those 3 facets of Kaelon Black's game, you can easily see why the 49ers think that he's versatile enough to succeed in their system. All right, we're going to open this up to all questions. That's just something that I saw on X today. But 8 minutes in, I am happy to answer whatever you guys put out there, as long as it's good. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate you. Joe, a longtime viewer. Cole says, Frank Gore had great hands, never caught many passes in college. I mean, it's ridiculous for people to just look at a college box score and think that they have a player evaluated. And maybe that's why, these mock drafts are not in line with what NFL teams like the 49ers are actually doing, because if you just look at box scores, if you just, can't form your own opinion, if you can't look deeper than something that's just numerical, if you don't know what tape you're looking for, then of course you're going to misidentify what players can do and what players can do well. But in the case of Kaelon Black, plus, the 49ers, you talk a lot about man blocking schemes. The 49ers went out and they signed Robert Jones in free agency. He's going to compete to be their left guard. Carver Willis is going to compete for it too. But Robert Jones has not been at his best in his own blocking scheme over the course of his NFL career. The best blocking from Robert Jones came in Miami under Mike McDaniel, but as a power guy. I remember when Robert Jones was signed to the 49ers, the first thing I did was go live, play a video, and it was him just bulldozing his way downfield on power. I think that the 49ers, and left guard is the key position to watch if a team's going to run power, because in power, the left guard pulls, right? The left guard is going to pull. The left guard is going to try to find a linebacker. and he's going to try to kick that linebacker out of the gap, and that's going to be responsible for clearing the biggest hole for the running back. The 49ers have been trying to muscle up at left guard, and it's not just this offseason. Maybe this offseason it's a bigger deal because Seattle's got some big, strong defensive tackles. The Rams are big and strong on the inside. I think being stronger at left guard is important. But over recent seasons, I mean, you could go back to 2021 where the 49ers drafted Aaron Banks in the second round. That was a bigger guard than they had typically lined up in Kyle Shanahan's outside zone. I don't think that Aaron Banks was a great player for the 49ers, but it did the job. He was a 3-year starter on his rookie contract, 2022, 2023, 2024. Walked after 2024. A lot of money, $19 million annually to the Green Bay Packers. And the 49ers then, they had to run a little bit of a platoon last year. We saw multiple guys play left guard after Ben Barch, the season opening guy, got hurt. But Connor Colby was there. Spencer Burford was there for the 49ers. Now the 49ers want to find at least another 4-year stopgap measure at left guard. It's not a position that they've paid under Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch. It's one that they've filled efficiently. They traded for Laken Tomlinson back at the start of the regime. He ended up starting at that left guard position all the way through that 2021 season. Aaron Banks took over, played there on his rookie contract. 49ers had a slapdash approach in 2025, and it was the biggest problem on their offensive line. Now they've signed Robert Jones. They've drafted Carver Willis. He's going to be moving from tackle to guard. I could even put this up for you guys so you can visualize how this all might work for the 49ers at that left guard position. I've got Jones as the top option for San Francisco as we speak. Willis right behind him. And still on the team right now is Nick Zakel. I don't project him to make the 53-man roster. You've got Brett Toth. They're thinking of him more as a backup center to Jake Brendel, but Toth has also played left guard. Don't expect Enrique Cruz, the 5th-round draft pick, or Vidarian Lowe to play guard because those are both tackles for San Francisco. And I've got more thoughts on Enrique Cruz later, the very, very fast right tackle. Maybe that comes out as part of our big video tomorrow. But you've got a 3-way competition for that left guard spot, and I think that they're going to try to bulk up their ability to run some power. Kaelon Black has run power. Guess what Christian McCaffrey ran a ton of when he should have won the Heisman Trophy at Stanford? Power. Remember Stanford back in those days was a power rushing team. Christian is so good that he fits into any scheme. But I think for the outside zone to be absolutely lethal, and that is Shanahan's longtime bread and butter, right? But for it to be absolutely lethal, something that you could run down in, down out, mixing it with inside zone, obviously, to keep the defense balanced, you have to have absolute supersonic speed. In 2019, the 49ers had 2 guys running borderline 4.2s in Raheem Mostert and Tevin Coleman. And they just blistered teams, especially down the stretch, once they figured out all the nuances of blocking the outside zone. It is rare to have that kind of speed on an offense. Like the 49ers in 2019 were special at the running back position. Mostert is a 4.3 guy, right? I was joking about 4.2, maybe with pads on and, some with adrenaline. Somehow he runs fast. He was unbelievable when he was at his prime. If you look at the 49ers now in that running back room, yeah, Kaelon will run a 4.4. I don't know what Christian McCaffrey runs now, but he's so skilled that I'm not worried about straight up 40 time for Christian McCaffrey. I just know that he's going to execute the system that he put in front of him, and he could threaten you in the pass game, which is the biggest part of his value. Jordan James is not overly fast. Jordan James is what, a 4.5 to 4.6 kind of guy. Didn't score well in the relative athletic score. One of the few draftees over the past couple of years that has not had a great relative athletic score. And then you've got your practice squad projections like McCormick and Patrick Taylor. I guess I forgot about Isaac Garendo, who is a burner, but seems to have fallen out of favor. The point is that the 49ers are not burners in the backfield. The point is that they're looking to build a multifaceted backfield of guys who can protect, of guys who can run in zone, who could run in power schemes, who can break tackles. Kaelon Black last year averaged 3.4 yards after contact per attempt. It's something that you like when a guy is running in between the tackles. He, again, can squat 515 pounds. He can bench 400 pounds, has got really good contact balance. The 49ers are not going to be afraid to run it up the middle, run in power schemes, and mix things up to try to resuscitate that run game in 2026. This is a true comment. I don't know who's trolling Ricky Pearsall, but yeah, calling Ricky Pearsall a bust is idiotic at this early point. It's entering year 3 in a career where the guy got shot in the chest, and obviously that wasn't Ricky Pearsall's fault as a rookie in 2024. That wiped out most of his rookie season. But he still had 2 great games to finish it. Like, nobody ever talks about week 17 and 18 of 2024, Ricky Pearsall averaging over 100 receiving yards per game. Showed up in 2025, was awesome in training camp, had a great first 4 games, was in the top 6 of the league in yards per route run, and hurt his knee. And that knee injury never fully healed was the problem. So we're talking about one shooting, right? Like literally getting shot in the chest, and 1 PCL injury for Ricky Pearsall. And people are here trying to say that he's a bust, even though when he's been available, he has been very good for the 49ers. So, I mean, the shooting, you can knock on wood. I don't think that's something that's going to repeat itself. The PCL injury only happened once, and he needed a full runway of time to recover. Anybody who's smart will say, let's wait and see Ricky Pearsall once he has a full runway of time to play healthy. Smart people will say, let's wait and see. We see talent here. We've seen production when he's healthy. Unfortunately, he's run into 2 major hiccups that have compromised his ability to play. If you're smart, you'll say, wait and see. If you're not very smart, you'll say, trade him. He's a bust. Find his replacement right now. He's a bust. So there's a difference here. It's like, there's a subset of people who are angry online who are playing checkers. There are more intelligent people who are playing chess and will say, hey, there's a reason why Ricky has not been on the field as much as the 49ers or he himself would have liked. And you'll be patient moving forward, because if he is able to play this year for the 49ers and play at the level that we know that he's capable of playing, maybe even take it up a notch, he now has Mike Evans at the X. Ricky has not really gotten to play with an X receiver. Right? Ricky, I think his first game for the 49ers was against the Kansas City Chiefs in 2024. That was the game that Brandon Ayuk tore his ACL. So Ricky Pearsall and Brandon Ayuk might have been on the field together for 5 snaps, maybe if that. Before Ayuk tore his ACL, that was in the first half against the Kansas City Chiefs there in October of 2024. So Ricky has not had a chance to play with a true X receiver yet. And that's so important because the X receiver is the gravitational force of the receiving corps. Christian McCaffrey draws attention to himself. I get it, but he draws underneath attention. The X receiver can draw true safety, top corner, perimeter attention. It allows the Z receiver, as Ricky Pearsall, a whole lot more expandability of his route tree on the field and a whole lot more open space. So it's one of those things where I think Ricky, when he's been healthy, to put up the numbers that he has, the yards per route run and the top 10, as I said, wait till now he has Mike Evans with him. And then Dejon Stribling is different because he's the big slot, the third receiver, and he runs a 4.36. Christian Kirk, the small slot, is also a 4.3 guy. Guys, Christian Kirk had 3 plays in his most recent game, or his second most recent game. It was the win against the Pittsburgh Steelers for the Houston Texans in the wild card round, where he hit over 20 miles an hour on the GPS tracker. Those 3 times would have been the 3 fastest times for a 49ers offensive ball carrier in 2025. So Kirk is going to bring a lot more speed than the 49ers had. Stribling is going to bring a lot more speed than the 49ers had. Mike Evans is going to bring an X receiver presence that the 49ers did not have in 2025. If Ricky Pearsall can stay healthy, he is going to be set up much, much more glamorously than he had been in the past when he didn't play with an X receiver, when nobody else was separating. You can see the investments that the 49ers have made, and now it's just going to be a matter of availability for Ricky Pearsall and Brock Purdy to connect. Thank you, Natasha. She says, thanks for all you do for the faithful. We appreciate all you do. Other content creators talk crap about you because they're jealous. Yes, that's obvious. I do like 55 times as many views as all of them combined. Cheese, guys. I hope you guys enjoy not really holding a candle to this channel, but that's okay. You say that Ricky is awesome. The hate he gets is ridiculous. Any updates on Joey Bosa? Well, here, I'll thank you for the note. I really appreciate that. But Joey Bosa is not likely coming to the 49ers because of their NFL draft. If they would have been able to get him at the team-friendly price that they had offered ahead of the NFL draft, then yeah, Joey Bosa would be a 49er now, and they probably would have drafted with that in mind. However, Joey said, I'm going to wait till after the draft because he probably wants well more than $10 million a year. And the 49ers said, we're going to move forward with cost-controlled players on rookie deals. They added how many defensive linemen? They added 2 through the draft itself. They added another one through the trade market in Osa Odigizua. Then they added 3 more through undrafted free agency. So they added 6 defensive linemen over the course of draft weekend, plus the Osa Odigizua signing or trade back in March during free agency. That was also procured via draft capital. When you have all those new guys come in, when you have all the new guys who came in last offseason, 4 of them are still in the building, and Mike Kell and Alfred Collins and CJ West, plus obviously the Hulk, Sebastian Valdez, I think you've got your defensive line in a place that you're really, really happy about. I mean, you take a look at this right here. The 49ers have completely redone the defensive line in just about a year plus, going back to the 2025 offseason. I think that they're all filled to the brim at this point. If you're going to bring in somebody else, it probably is going to be an in-season move that responds to an injury, right? If there's somebody gets hurt and then, okay, you need edge rushing help. And the 49ers last year ran into this problem. They traded for Keon White, but he's still on the team now. Somebody gets hurt and you need to add a player, then I would get it. But at this point, I'm not really sure where the spot for Joey Bosa would be. Now, Michael Williams is still recovering from his ACL tear. So is Nick Bosa. Nick ahead of Michael in his recovery, but that is something to keep in mind. Scott, one of our members, says, do Evans and Stribling fit into Purdy's strengths? Well, okay, Evans, tall receiver, great contested catch guy. We know that Purdy loves placing the ball precisely in a spot where only tall receivers can get it. I think Mike Evans fits any quarterback. Any good quarterback is going to like throwing to Mike Evans. Tom Brady's enjoyed it. We can go down the list of Mike Evans' career, but he had 11 straight 1,000-yard seasons, which is insanely impressive. So Evans, yes, of course he fits. The 49ers need an X. Purdy needs an X. It's going to be a big benefit for San Francisco. Stribling is a little bit different because Stribling is not the contested catch king. Stribling is going to be more of a speed separator, and he's a yak guy. The yak was awesome. Now, he was good after contact. Like, he could be a bulldozer after contact, but it's a lot of the yak that we saw at Ole Miss was catch and run, and I'm going to run away from you speed. So I think giving Brock Purdy different types of weapons at different levels of the field, and Stribling too, his tape is very different among schools. Like at Ole Miss, he was running a lot of hitches and he would run some go routes, but then you put on the tape before that at Oklahoma State, and all of a sudden the guy's running more crossers, he's running more posts. I think between that and Washington State, that was his first school, so he played at 3 colleges. The guy has showcased a complete route tree. And if a guy can showcase a complete route tree with a 4.36, and again, he's very disciplined and very, very good catching the football. Had only 1 drop last year. How could he not fit with a good quarterback, right? I mean, those are all the things that you list and you check off that list when it comes to what you're searching for to support your very good quarterback, and that's what the 49ers have with Brock Purdy. Thank you, Superhero42. Appreciate you becoming a member. You can become a member of the channel if you get on the desktop version of this video. Another question here from Scott. Defense is now the 3rd youngest, but the offense is the oldest. Should the 49ers prepare for offseason turnover, even fan favorites? Yes, I think in the NFL you should always be ready for offseason turnover because a lot can happen over the course of a season, and a team could decide to move on from a player that you would think is not possible right now, but next offseason it could be very different. Now, they want Trent Williams around for at least 2 more years, but guys like Christian McCaffrey don't have guaranteed money into 2027. George Kittle might have a little bit of guaranteed money. I'll have to check that. Nick Bosa doesn't. But the 49ers are going to have to modernize this offense significantly over the next 2 or 3 years. Part of that process has already begun with the addition of Stribling, with the addition of Kaelon Black. We'll see if some of the day 3 picks for the 49ers end up panning out. They used 4 draft picks on offensive players and 4 on defensive players. I don't think they mind having a very experienced offense leading the charge in a season where they're obviously pushing a lot of chips into the middle of the table. But they also want to make sure that that more experienced offense hands the baton off to some players who will ultimately fill their shoes, and they hand it off effectively. So I think a great example of that dynamic potentially happening is that along the offensive line, they just signed Vidarian Lowe. They like him a lot. Maybe he has expandability to be a starting tackle one day. Well, Trent Williams is a great guy to be in the room with, a great guy to learn from. Eventually, I think they would love if Enrique Cruz Jr. were the starting right tackle, but Colton McKivitz is still a fine player for this football team. They have him at a discount. They're going to hold on to him at a discount here for the next couple years. That's great for San Francisco, but Cruz is somebody who could be waiting in the wings for the 49ers. That's a way to make the offense younger. On defense, it's I don't know why I said on defense. At the receiver room, I think it's really, really clear what the 49ers are doing. Dejon Stribling can be the Jawan Jennings F position for a year, maybe 2. Maybe, Mike Evans is under contract for 3 seasons, but only 1 is guaranteed. So there's a chance that Mike walks away after this year, but say that Mike plays 2 of these 3 years. Well, you're going to need an X wide receiver in 2027. I think Dejon Stribling, with his blocking ability, his size, his speed, can theoretically be the X. But I don't think you want to draft him and thrust him into the X receiver spot. So he runs a timeshare with Christian Kirk at the F, gives you a major speed upgrade over Jawan Jennings while maintaining the size. Kirk is only under contract for 1 year. Stribling, meanwhile, gets his feet wet at all the positions because that's what you do as a Shanahan receiver with the 49ers. And then he's ready to potentially move into the X spot if his development goes well when you lose Evans, unless you're able to get somebody else. But you can see how that can fit for San Francisco. All right, I am back into the comments section waiting for some more good questions. You want the link to this depth chart? You can get it in the comment section right now. Thank you for asking. I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste it in there for you. There it is. You can't click on it on the screen, but if you go into the live chat section, you can go ahead and click on that link and you can go check it out. How much playing time do you think we see from Stribling this season? I think we see a lot. The 49ers need receivers. Period. They need receivers. Christian Kirk is not somebody who I think the 49ers signed hoping that he was going to be this stalwart that is playing 600 to 700 snaps a year. Maybe a 500 snap guy, but I think that you're going to see Stribling play a lot, just like Dante Pettis played a lot as a rookie in 2018. Brandon Ayuk played a lot as a rookie in 2020. Ricky Pearsall, when he was available, played a lot after getting shot in the chest in 2024 as a rookie. So Kyle Shanahan is not afraid to play rookie wide receivers, and there's a clear role for Dejon Stribling to play in 2025 for the 49ers. Evans and Kirk coaching him up. It could be big for the 49ers. You are exactly right. What happened to Eric Kendricks? He's still a free agent. You look at Eric, obviously, at the end of his career, he might do the same thing as last year and sign on with a contender, maybe even the 49ers if they need him later in the season just to preserve his body. I think Eric really, really was smart in doing that last year. Why at his stage of his career, 10-year guy, why would you just unnecessarily beat yourself up and tax your body from weeks 1 to 10 plus? Why, especially if you don't know how good teams are going to be. So you'd be stuck with a team that might not even be a contender. So if you want to make the juice worth the squeeze, if you're Eric Kendricks, wait it out. And then, just like last year, pick a team that really needs you, that also is good. And then you could play some meaningful football. I would not be surprised if Eric followed that formula again. He does have enough of a reputation in the league to get away with it. But look how many linebackers they have, especially if you consider Jaden Duggar a linebacker, and they are. But I think he's going to be kind of a roving defender. Warner, Greenlaw, Martin, Gifford, Bethune, Duggar, Eifler, Graham, Wallow. There are 9 linebackers on this roster. So the 49ers want that space saved for some lottery tickets with amazing upside like Jaden Duggar. You know exactly where Kendricks is. Eric probably doesn't even want to be in a building right now. Just enjoying family time, enjoying some time with his friends in the offseason. He's an accomplished vet. Maybe guys get hurt like last year, and all of a sudden you need Eric Kendricks again, and he stays in shape, and you give him another call because it went so well. But again, it's also not a solid defense anymore. It's going to be different under Raheem Morris. So that's the answer about Eric Kendricks. It's possible that Eric Crocker doesn't like the Stribling pick, and it's possible that Stribling is not going to play X. It doesn't really, that'd be a bonus if he can play X. He didn't pick this guy in the first round. It's not, there aren't these expectations on Dejon Stribling that, oh, he's got to be Brandon Ayuk and he's got to lock down the X receiver position after Mike Evans leaves. I think if he plays a solid big slot for the 49ers, and stretches the field with the 4.36 speed, the ball doesn't even have to go his way, just adds to the team's speed. The investment will have been worth it for the 49ers. They didn't use a top 5 pick on this guy. They didn't even use a top 32 pick on this guy. They traded back twice from 27 to 30, from 30 to 33, and got him in the second round. They were thinking about trading back one more time, but then they were afraid, based on the league intel that they had gathered, that he'd be off the board by 39 or 40. So they didn't want to trade back and risk it. They liked him enough to get him in the early second round. If you could get a solid year in, year out contributor, ready-made guy, which I think Dejon Stribling might be, he's been at 3 different college programs, has produced everywhere. If you can get that at your receiving position, somebody that positively impacts his teammates as well, just with the gravity on the field, 33 is more than worth it for the 49ers. And he doesn't have to play X down the road to justify the pick. He just has to be a good big slot, and then anything beyond that is gravy for the 49ers. Dan asking, Stribling and Black, the kick returners? Potentially. I think that the punt returner for the 49ers, you'll see what I have here. And I also have Isaac Guerendo as the kick returner, and that might not actually happen. But I have Jordan Watkins as the punt returner. He did it at Ole Miss. Now, that was before Dejon Stribling transferred to Ole Miss. Stribling doesn't have any punt return experience, so you're always looking for somebody who has done what is, I think, a relatively unique skill set. And somebody like Jordan Watkins has done it. He even returned a punt for a touchdown back at Ole Miss. So maybe he ends up grabbing that spot. They still have Junior Bergen on the roster, but he's likely destined for the practice squad again. All right, Ryan, you don't get it here. You say Kyle destroyed the narrative that the 49ers don't care about expected draft position. He said that they drafted Stribling and Black where they did because he expected them to be taken soon. I don't want to say no, like SHIT. I'm not going to say the word on here. I don't want YouTube to get mad at us. I mean, thank you, Captain Obvious. Of course the 49ers care where other teams might draft guys like Dejon Stribling and Kaelon Black. Of course, that's That's the whole point of the draft. You want to beat out other teams. What the narrative is, and it's the smart narrative here, is that the 49ers don't care. Where amateurs licking Cheeto dust off of their fingers, sitting in their basements, making mock drafts. 49ers don't care about them. Those are the guys that make up the consensus. The consensus is people who aren't connected to the NFL. The 49ers do not care where people who are not connected to the NFL think that players might go. The 49ers care where players might actually go based on other teams' draft boards, which are obviously confidential, but you gather hints because people talk and you listen. That's what the 49ers care about. So Kyle didn't destroy any narrative. That narrative was obvious. Kyle Shanahan, in his comments, actually just made some of the stupidity surrounding the entire conversation of people thinking that NFL teams actually care about their very unprofessional opinions. Kyle Shanahan put that to rest. He did not put to rest any notion that the 49ers might care about where other teams are picking players, because obviously they do. Like very, very clearly the 49ers do. That is how you strategize the draft. You just don't look to the outside and look at uninformed people. You get informed sources to tell you or figure out or anticipate what the actual league might do. There are real draft boards. There are mock draft boards, right? And it's important not to let those two blur together. Yes, this is a true comment. I don't think you say I don't think anyone cares about mock drafts. Well, there's fans right now with their hair on fire who care way too much about mock drafts. That's where this entire dumb discourse started, is that people care too much about mock drafts, and then they saw the 49ers pick guys who aren't on mock drafts or not at that spot, and then they think that the 49ers somehow reached against the mock draft. NFL buildings don't care about the mock drafts, but the fans and the media do, because the media has to get you to buy and click on their stuff. And it's a great time for the media to just speculate and fans to speculate and not be able to be proven wrong in April by just putting guys' names up on mock drafts. This was a reality check for all of the people who worship mock drafts. Not every team is going to follow you word for word. No team is going to follow you. There are cases, though, where teams, I think, have more standardized draft processes, so they're not going to surprise you as much with picks. But by and large, those teams also have not had nearly as much success as the 49ers over the past 10 years, ever since Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch came onto the scene. I personally think that the 49ers run a bigger swing process in the draft, meaning that they're trying to hit home runs, as you should be on day 3 especially, and they might whiff. There might be some whiffs for San Francisco because they are not getting cheated. They are getting their money's worth with their swings. The types of players that they've drafted, though, over the years, and you've got to give them credit for all the hits that there have been, starting with George Kittle in 2017, Fred Warner in 2018, obviously Nick Bosa, pick number 2 in 2019, but Dre Greenlaw came in the 5th round of that draft in 2019. Brock Purdy in the 7th round of 2022. The 49ers have built the nucleus and the core of this team through the draft, but they also, especially in the year that they got overzealous following that in 2021 with the trade up from Trey Lance, they also have missed on some high-profile picks. They've also gone a couple years, 2022 and 2023, without a first-round pick because they traded away those picks for the opportunity to draft Trey Lance in 2021. So it's a complex thing, and the only way to fairly analyze it is looking at the aggregate. How good of a roster have they built on the whole? Because some years teams draft worse, some years they draft better. Welcome to the crapshoot of the NFL. Like it's impossible to predict the draft. It's impossible to know that you're going to have a great draft on a year in, year out basis. So you try to play the percentages, build a process that games the percentages as well as possible, and then you look up after a few years and you see how well you actually have drafted. Over the course of 10 years, the 49ers, according to one of the objective rankings that we watch, I looked at it the other day, I showed you guys, number 4 out of 32 teams. And it totally aligns with reality. They've been one of the most winning teams in football over the course of the past decade. You don't get there unless you have scored in the NFL draft. You can't just build a perennial winner through free agency and trades. It's too expensive to do it that way. You have to go through the cost-controlled draft, and the proof is in the pudding. The 49ers have drafted fine. It got worse in 2021, I think mainly because they lost the picks, the first-round picks, due to the Trey Lance trade. So then you ask yourself, is this poor drafting, or was that just a poor trade for Trey Lance that has hurt the 49ers drafting? While the 49ers drafting was saved by Brock Purdy. I think that it's funny because there's a certain subset of people who would be completely devastated to acknowledge exactly what has happened because it would make every single one of their takes crater. That group of people hates Brock Purdy. So they can never admit that Brock Purdy is a really good quarterback, even though objectively the data is really clear. That same group of people obviously has to say that the 49ers have drafted terribly. Again, the data doesn't say that. That same group of people also said that Trey Lance was some kind of savior that should have started ahead of Brock Purdy. Well, that group of people, not good for them that the 49ers have actually, A, drafted really well over the course of 10 years. That can't argue with data. You can't argue with the roster. You can't argue with perennial winning teams. The 49ers have drafted well, and the percentages of hits are actually up there, and the percentages of good value are way up there. That's why they rank 4 out of 32 teams over the past 10 years in the NFL draft. So that's bad news for that group of people. Good news for anybody who likes the 49ers. Another piece of all this is that Brock Purdy is literally the pick and the player who was good enough for the 49ers to mask the disasters that were the 2022 and 2023 drafts. So there were 2 bad drafts here, which came downstream of the trade that gave up 3 first-round picks to move up from 12 to 3. Obviously got number 3, a first-round pick in return. But the trade that should have created the 49ers, that hurt their draft capital and obviously was the precursor to the bad 2022 and 2023 drafts, was salvaged by the fact that Brock Purdy came out of the 2022 draft. He is one of the most valuable draft picks of all time. He is one of the best quarterbacks in the game today. So those who can't stand Purdy have a really tough time here because on one hand, they want to say that the 49ers are terrible at drafting. On the other hand, they want to say that Purdy's bad. But the 49ers have stayed a winning team, so they can't say that both of those things are true anymore, right? Because either the 49ers are terrible at drafting, they were in 2022 and 2023, and Purdy is so good that he saved them, or the 49ers actually aren't that bad at drafting if you want to argue that Brock Purdy isn't that great, and they've built such a strong team that they've been able to win anyway. It's kind of a checkmate situation for people who love to troll about everything in the negative, those people who aren't objective. The truth of the matter is that the 49ers have drafted well in the aggregate and that Brock Purdy is an all-pro caliber quarterback and one of the greatest picks ever. And now we get to see how the 2024, 2025, and 2026 drafts will grade out. All right, everybody, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. Nice, fun Saturday show. We got a good one coming tomorrow at some point, maybe in the morning. So hit your notification bell icon. Everybody, thanks for watching. Everybody, enjoy your Saturday night, and you can become a member too, just like Superhero 42 became a member today. Scott's been a member for 8 months. Sign up for memberships on the desktop page. Thanks for watching. We will talk to you soon. Hope everybody had a good Derby day. That's what Mr. Fred Warner was up to today. There he is, Fred Warner with his wife Sydney at the Kentucky Derby. Everybody take care.